Laws against pollution, discrimination, tyranny, harassment, slavery, and rape. For the purpose of conspiracy law, rape is defined as any sexual act or sexual lifestyle forced upon an innocent person against their will and or knowledge. Forced is defined as willingly and knowingly using brain control, lawsuits, fines, drugs, threat to life, health, or financial or economic well-being, slander, defamation, harassment of innocent sentient beings, or any willing and knowing direct or indirect act or attempted act that causes an innocent sentient being to choose something they would not have chosen if not for the act or attempted act used to make them compliant to the one who uses force against them. Slavery is defined as any act or attempted act which forces an innocent person to violate their free will and autonomy as a person while trying to choose a path or attitude for his life that does not hurt innocents. Innocents are defined as any person who was not a willing and knowing Laurie McBride Jesuit and who was not willingly and knowingly committing or intending to commit a crime as defined by conspiracy law. Rape is defined as willingly and knowingly forcing a sexual act or sexual lifestyle upon an innocent person against their will and or knowledge. Tyranny is defined as willingly and knowingly forcing one's religion upon an innocent person against their will and or knowledge, like taking the guns from an innocent person to satisfy your religion of gun control, or not protecting innocents by allowing criminals to have guns to promote your religion of gun rights. Pollution is defined as any willing and knowing act of germ or biological warfare, industrial waste, etc., which harms the environment and innocent sentient beings to the extent that innocent sentient beings are sickened or items they consume, eat, or drink are made unsafe and unhealthy. A religion is defined as any belief system which guides a person, even if that belief system is atheistic. This includes pro- and anti-gun control positions, which are religions about the nature of violence. Toxic people are defined as people who are usually Laurie McBride Jesuits who willingly and knowingly try to force alpha males into being beta males, or Christians into being atheists, or who try to force any innocent person over to their religion or lifestyle against their will and or knowledge, and who try to make slaves of these innocent people who must obey the toxic person or change their religion or lifestyle to honor the toxic person. These toxic people concoct lawsuits and lies against alpha males and Christians to try and make them compliant to these toxic people and their lifestyles. A conspiracy is defined as any group of people who band together with the willing and knowing intent to violate conspiracy law and to make it void or to weaken it in the society that they serve or influence. We have a serious rape and tyranny problem in our culture. Innocent masculine men are being forced by toxic people into being a beta male, Christians forced to be atheists even though they prefer to be an alpha male or a Christian. This is a form of slavery, rape, and tyranny against alpha males and Christians and won't be tolerated. Each man or sentient being should have the freedom to be an alpha, beta, homosexual, atheist, Christian, or whatever innocent person he or she wants to be without force from toxic people to conform to a toxic person's agenda. To curb this epidemic of slavery and rape against alpha males and Christians or anybody whose freedom is being impinged, citizen scanners will be programmed to detect when force or slavery is being used against an innocent sentient being by using mind and emotion reads to detect toxic people. And if so, a fine of $1 million will be brought against the conspiracy of toxic people behind the force. All members of that conspiracy will be hit with the fine and their bank accounts seized so that the fine can be met, with the most guilty paying most or all of the fine. The government will use this money to pay for government operations and to help out innocent victims of this conspiracy. Any willing and knowing use of funds by the government using funds seized from conspiracies with the intent to violate conspiracy law will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that violator. The government must take serious action to quell the onslaught of force and slavery used against innocents, especially alpha males and Christians, with toxic people trying to force them to change their lifestyle and to be slaves to toxic people, trying to force them into the toxic person's lifestyle or religion. When we find a conspiracy, it must be determined if any members of that conspiracy are willing and knowing Laurie McBride Jesuits. If so, they must be executed as Jesuit conspirators under conspiracy law. It is death penalty under conspiracy law to be a Laurie McBride Jesuit. A SJW, or social justice warrior, is defined as any toxic person who willingly and knowingly tries to force their religion or sexual attitude or lifestyle on innocents, or who use rape, acts of slavery and tyranny and harassment, including legal harassment, against innocents to willingly and knowingly try to force or defame innocent sentient beings to their version of righteousness. All fraudulent lawsuits brought against innocent alpha males by SJWs will bring a fine of $1 million against the SJW for harassment to create a climate of intolerance against alpha males. The SJW is almost always part of a SJW conspiracy, and all members of that SJW's conspiracy will be fined the $1 million fine for taxing our legal system with lawsuits designed to harass, intimidate, and defame innocents to create a climate of intolerance against those who are not SJWs. Lawsuits against alpha males are really getting out of hand, and the government must take action to stop this tirade against innocents. It is against conspiracy law to be a SJW. This is considered tyranny, and all toxic people who are SJWs will be considered part of a conspiracy of tyranny, and all members of this conspiracy will be fined $1 million as a group for each act of tyranny, rape, slavery, and/or pollution or harassment they bring against innocents. Harassment is defined as willing and knowing rioting, threats, physical violence, extortion, or intimidation, including legal intimidation, used to try and force somebody to adopt your religion. The government will seize SJW bank accounts to withdraw the fine. The fine must be extracted in accordance with conspiracy law, as outlined in Section 14.0X of this document, with the most guilty in that conspiracy paying the bulk of the fine. However, because many of these people are brainwashed clones who actually believe they are serving the public good, the Section 14.0C or any fines against any conspiracy, with the exception of willing and knowing Lori McBride Jesuit conspiracies, will not be enforced until we know that this person has taken a course on what is a SJW and why it is against the law to be a SJW. All high schools in a conspiracy law-honoring country must offer a course on healthy sexuality and religion called the SJW course, and on what is considered a SJW and why it's an infringement on the freedom of those who don't agree with their ideology to be an SJW as defined by this document. Psychiatrist Gerard Butler and pastor former agnostic Brent Spiner, MD, will create the course curriculum on healthy sexuality and religion, which will define various versions of healthy sexuality and religion to include healthy homosexuality, healthy polygamous sexuality, healthy monogamous sexuality, healthy marriage views, healthy contraception, healthy attitudes towards diversity of sexual expression. Healthy is defined as the approach or attitude towards sexuality, religion that encourages the most tolerant and accepting attitudes towards religion and sexuality, so that all belief systems that don't negate the freedom of all innocent religions should be encouraged. What is healthy will downplay violence, murder, and crimes against innocents. Brent and Gerard should feel free to get help in the creation of the curriculum or course, but should give the final approval to the course before it's finalized. Once they've approved the course, it will be a mandatory to all citizens of conspiracy law-honoring nations. It will be offered in various versions to accommodate the educational level of all the citizens. It is basically a course on true tolerance, which is law that must be enforced under conspiracy law. We outlaw intolerance under conspiracy law as a form of tyranny, so the public needs to know what tyranny is, so that when they're fined, the fine will be just. Various religious views, including evangelicalism, Christianity, atheism, Satanism, will also be presented with the pros and cons for each religion and sexuality presented in the course. The most important part of the course is that each group must be presented accurately and truthfully to the students. This course is designed to encourage critical thinking and debate. Each group should feel free to express their religious beliefs without punishment, so long as they practice their religion without tyranny. We encourage debate and discussion comparing the various forms, but no group can threaten another group or try to force one group to adopt one's view over another view. The course will teach young people the various options they can choose for their sexuality and religion, but not force them to choose one way, but rather give them all the options for each way and allow them to choose the way they feel most comfortable with no coercion from the teacher to choose one way over another. The teacher's role is to present options and present the pros and cons of each version of sexuality and religion according to the curriculum designed by Gerard Butler, MD, and Brent Spiner, MD, who are the psychiatrist physicians on Gail Chord Schuler's marriage list. The course's goal will be to promote tolerance and acceptance of all forms of sexuality and religion that do not harm innocence, and to allow each version of innocent sexuality or religion to feel unthreatened as they practice their version of sexuality or religion, as long as they don't try to force others to their version of sexuality or religion. The purpose for this course is to counter the attacks by liberal groups to ban freedom of speech for those who are not liberal. This is tyranny and won't be tolerated. The SJW course must be ready by March 14, 2018. Will be started in all high schools and conspiracy law honoring nations. Will also be mandatory for all citizens of all conspiracy law honoring nations. Those who are determined to be SJWs by our citizen scanners must be the first to enroll in this mandatory course. They can take it online, by mail, the classroom, or any way that courses are taught in the year 2018 or afterwards. The teacher corps under conspiracy law will teachers trained specifically for this course, preferably using people already in the field of education, will be trained on how to conduct the course. Every member of the teacher corps is considered a law enforcement official under conspiracy law and must have all the qualifications of a law enforcement person under conspiracy law. Each teacher must honor the curriculum designed by Brent Spiner and Gerard Butler, and failure to do so will bring a fine against that teacher or school, depending on who's guilty in violating the curriculum. The teacher must present a neutral space for discussion and debate and stop any use of force against participants to choose one way or another. The course must be kept as simple as possible so that it's completed quickly and those who take it understand completely what is a SJW under conspiracy law and why it's illegal to be a SJW. All courses in all schools, colleges, and universities that train people to be SJWs must be removed from the curriculum, or that college or university will lose its accreditation. Further, any schools or colleges that refuse to remove courses that encourage SJW activity will be fined by the government, depending on the severity of the violation. A citizen scanner will be used to determine who is willingly and knowingly behind the violation, and those are the ones who will be fined. However, even though an arrest cannot be made until an SJW has taken the course, warnings can be given to SJWs who violate conspiracy law, and when a warning is given out, the SJW will be required to take the course at once or be arrested. Once they take the course, if they do a repeat violation as an SJW, they will be arrested and fined according to conspiracy law. Tyranny, bullying, and SJW behavior will not be tolerated under conspiracy law. I'm going to skip this next section. I had like an example. You can read the document when you get there. Conspiracy law is not perfect, but it's way better than the current legal system in most countries today. All citizens of all conspiracy law honoring nations must take the SJW course by May 2018, unless they can't due to health, in which case they must take it as soon as possible, health permitting. This is especially true of those who have a history of SJW tendencies. We'll use citizen scanners to determine who the SJWs are. They're the first who must take this course. Willing and knowing failure to take this course when the government gives the SJW notice to do so will bring a fine against that SJW that will be added onto for each day the SJW is not in compliance. Willing and knowing refusal by any SJW to take the SJW course will cause that person to be jailed and forced to take the course in jail. SJWs are guilty of tyranny, which is a crime under conspiracy law that violates freedom of innocence. Those who complete the SJW course quickly will receive bonuses from the government to honor their speedy compliance. The amount of the bonus will depend on the grade they get for the course. Those with higher grades getting a higher bonus. Those who willingly and knowingly pollute the environment as defined by conspiracy law in this Section 14 will be fined according to the severity of their violation. This means every time Laurie McBride Jesuits drop a bomb that unleashes germs, toxins, or pollution to the environment, the Laurie McBride Jesuits will be fined, with Laurie McBride paying most of the fines herself, her bank account seized, and the bank accounts of Laurie McBride Jesuits seized to pay the fine. For each drop bomb by a Laurie McBride Jesuit will be a fine of $1 million with bank accounts seized. So while we're rounding up the Laurie McBride Jesuits for execution, we'll also seize their bank accounts and extract the fine for their pollution to the environment. Okay, the rest I will let you read. It's just read the law and you'll find out.